Howdy ho. Andrew Kelpier here. Welcome to the Onion Buns. And welcome to another edition of my Sunday gaming video. For this Sunday, we're going to go back into Exodus. Now, in previous weeks, I've shown you concepts, I've shown you art, and we've talked about the different characters and we've listened to the stories. And I find it truly fascinating. I really do. But sometimes it's just best to listen to the developers talk. Nothing gets me more pumped than hearing somebody else be excited about their creation. There's developers out there that when they talk, they're like, why are you making this? You don't seem to have any passion. You can't say that about the guys at Archetype. They sound passionate. They're careful on what they're saying, and that's understandable, but you can hear the passion in them. So I want to show this Founders Q&A. I believe this is from September 2024. And yeah, let's just go through and they can talk and I'll throw in my 2 bits and hopefully everybody will pick up on the excitement and get excited by them for themselves. So anyway, let's go.
So I'm a huge science fiction fan, and I really felt that I had, one more story to tell. It came from actually a long time ago, back in 7th grade, I think. I was reading about Einstein and, theory of relativity and time dilation, and it just blew my mind. I had a teacher who assigned us a short story. We had to write a short story. Before he assigned it, he said that he'd never given out a 100% mark. And of course, I'm very competitive, so I was like, I'm going to get the first 100%. But I spent the entire month, because we had a month, writing and rewriting and writing and rewriting. And I wrote a story about time dilation. Fast forward today, and that's the kind of story I want to tell. Oh, also, I did indeed get that 100%.
So I can attest to the reality of all of that. Like, the fact that James has been that big a nerd for this entire time is amazing, and why we're doing this amazing game together, but also the competitive element of it too. So yeah, totally true story. Totally true story.
So as I've said, I've been listening to the audiobook while I've been working on my office. Painting in my office, and time dilation plays a major role in this game. Huge role. It is really the fundamental aspect of this game or this story. And I'll be honest, I never thought of time dilation prior to this, honestly, but it's a really cool concept. And in the novel, there are numerous times where they go through the gates of heaven, which in Mass Effect were the jump gates, and it'll be like a 2-3 month trip, but 10 years ago will go by from where they left before they get back. So they're gone for 2-3 months, but 10 years has gone by. Well, a lot can happen in 10 years. And then the interesting thing in the novel, and I don't know if this will, I imagine it will, but I don't know for sure. But in the novel, they set up jobs for their companies to do over the next 10 years. Like, this is your job. This is what we want you to achieve while we're gone. And then they do their 2-3 month trip through the gates of heaven to whatever they're doing while their company is doing that. So when they come back, the work they've set up in theory should be done, and they come back with the information or the material or whatever the reason they went to this other through the gates of heaven, but 10 years has passed. So it really does create a huge paradox, and it has a lot of interesting concepts if you think about it, what they could put in the games. It's like, okay, we're going to do this time jump. Here is what we want you guys that we're leaving behind to work on over the next 10, 20, 30 years, depending on how long you're gone for. And yeah, it's a fascinating concept. I never thought of it all that much over the years. But listening to the novel and reading all this stuff, it's really been eye-opener on the potential, the storytelling potential.
This is one of the exciting parts of what we're building in Exodus. The choices you make are going to impact story progression in a bunch of different ways. Your choices are going to have consequences for your loved ones back home. You're going to see that impact on those choices in cool ways we unfortunately can't reveal quite yet, but they're also going to affect a bunch of other things. Progression options for your character as you advance in the game, your homeworld and your civilization overall, and that's going to be pretty enormous. We're super excited about that. There's a really cool element that I think we really internally are most excited about, which involves some crazy outcomes with your companions. I wish we could share more today, but we've got to save the details for later.
Okay, that makes me happy. That really does. Mass Effect. I'll go back to Mass Effect because that is the game I compare this most to. My most memorable parts of Mass Effect 1 are you have to choose on Vimir, does Ashley or does Kaidan die? Like, who gets left behind to plant the bomb? It's a suicide mission and they know it. And it affects your group. The other big one is, does Rex live or die? You know, that's a more direct thing on your part. You make that choice, but it affects how it plays. And I really think EA screwed that part up because that was such an important part in Mass Effect 1. And then EA kind of just like, they made it meaningless in Mass Effect 2 and 3, in my opinion, by just writing Rex out. No matter what you chose, he was out of the storyline. You got Junior and it was a cheap way for them to go. I don't expect these guys to do the cheap route. So if you're making these choices, it's going to affect your gameplay. And I love that. Because as I've said many a times, if you've watched any of my videos, when it comes to role-playing games, story and characters are my fundamental favorite part. That's what pulls me in. Story and characters. It's why I don't like Starfield. I see huge potential for Starfield, but the writing was just not very good. The characters were boring. I didn't like any of my companions, honestly. You know, so the fact that companions are going to play such a major role in this game really lifts me up and gives me a lot of hope for this game.
Our vision for Exodus is to create a deep story-driven adventure that takes place across the entire galaxy. Exploration and discovery is a big part of that journey. At the end of the day, you're trying to save everything you love. That's your real mission here. To do this, you realize you've got to go out on these missions and uncover exotic celestial remnants. How you use them when you get back home is where it gets really interesting. You're back on your homeworld after finding a remnant, and now you've got a choice of how you're going to harvest it. Do you want to use it to make weapons against the Celestials themselves, or expand scientific discovery for humanity? That's just one example, but that's what this is about. And Exodus isn't about broad open space exploration. You're on specific missions to recover these remnants. You're driven by time. It's your enemy you can't see, but you also can't ignore it. And that urgency is to get home, figure out how to leverage these things to save your planet, not miss out on what's happened with your loved ones while you've been gone due to time dilation. That's really what it's all about. And we're really excited to unveil that to players.
Okay, that's the first time they've said something that kind of disappoints me. I love exploration. I am a completionist type of player. I want, like in Cyberpunk 2077, if you watched my most recent video, number 4 game of all time, I don't even drive in Cyberpunk unless I absolutely have to for the mission, because I want to explore every nook and cranny, you know. And the only reason I keep playing Starfield is because they got this massive universe and I want to explore every damn planet I can. No word of a lie. You know, and I'm disappointed that Starfield reuses so much stuff. They did not take advantage of the potential they had. But I want to explore every planet because I love exploration. What I see this being is more of the Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, where you got these little maps and you go in and you do your mission. Now, let's hope it's not Mass Effect 2 where it's a 5-minute mission. Those drove me nuts. You know, Mass Effect 3 was a little bit bigger and that was better. But yeah, I want to go in and I want to explore. So I'm a little disappointed that they're going to go the map route, for lack of a better term. But hopefully, we don't know enough yet. And hopefully they realize that the small maps, 5-minute, 10-minute maps in Mass Effect 2 was a mistake and they expanded out more. If they do that, I'm sure I'll learn to overlook that aspect because, I did the same for Mass Effect 2. At first I disliked Mass Effect 2 because they cut out so much of the RPG elements for an action element, and they had these tiny little maps, and it drove me crazy because I want to explore. In a sci-fi game, I want exploration. The only reason I played No Man's Sky is because of the exploration. I freaking hated that game because the writing was horrible, because there was no writing for the most part. The characters were horrible because there was no characters for the most part. There was just exploration, and the exploration held me over for quite a while because I just love exploration. So, I would have hoped they would have done more of the Starfield type of approach with the massive exploration, but it's their game. And I did learn to love Mass Effect 2. It's in my top 20 favorite games of all time now. Over the years, my criticism has died off and I've become to appreciate it more. So I'm sure the same thing will happen here is I will appreciate whatever they put out.
The time jumps are indeed story leaps, but there's so much more than that. Before you go on an exodus, you're going to need to make some really important decisions about your friends, your family, and your entire world. You're going to make these choices knowing that you won't even see the consequences for years or even decades. This gives extra weight to every choice that you make. Your choices are going to continue to have an impact throughout the entire game. A choice that you make before your first exodus might have big consequences upon your return. But there might be even bigger, unforeseen consequences from that same choice after your next exodus.
So what they're talking about that is, again, choices matter, like I said, with the companions. But even beyond that, it's the time dilation. Again, it's you are choosing who you're leaving behind, and you have to understand your trip may be only 2, 3, 4 months. That may be 10, 20, 30 years for them. So you have to make that choice that these people that you're leaving behind, they're not going to be the same as when you left them. And it might only seem like a short period of time for you. It's going to be a lifetime for them. So there's big choices.
Yes, you will. In fact, you will meet several sentient aliens. You'll even adventure with sentient aliens. But really, the definition of alien in Exodus is a little different because they aren't extraterrestrial. Everything has a terrestrial origin. Everything has come from Earth and has evolved over 40,000 years. And that can lead to some really weird civilizations and versions of humanity or other animals from Earth. Just think of how we humans turned wolves into chihuahuas just through breeding them, and now take that, multiply it by 40,000 years, and using all sorts of genetic technologies, and we have a lineup of aliens that's going to be weirder than most science fiction games or science fiction worlds that you've seen.
All right, what he's talking about specifically there is the Celestials. What Celestials are, and I've learned this through listening to the audiobook of the Exodus audiobook, which I can now say, buy it, listen to it, read it. It's excellent. Started off a little slow, but it's picked up and it is excellent. I'm really enjoying it. I will be re-listening to it once I'm done. I've been listening to it while I've been working on my office, painting it. Right now, as you know, I use an AI background, and one of the things that drives me crazy about the AI background is like, see this hand? Well, it disappears because of that AI background. And so I want to get to into the office where it's a solid background. So when I move my hands or I stand up, it actually gets picked up on camera. It's not hidden by the AI background. But anyway, back to this. The Celestials, they are human. They are the first descendants on the Arks. The Arks came through. They came through to the Centauri cluster I can't help wondering if that's a nod to Babylon 5. I really can't. But anyway, they came through the Centauri cluster, and then it's been thousands of years before the next arcs came. So these arcs are modern day Earth, and these Celestials, well, they were originally humans, but they've evolved. They've grown through technology, through basic human evolution. You know, like we were once apes and we evolved. They were humans. They evolved. So they're very alien to look at, but they were, as he said, terrestrial origins, even though they may have cast aside those terrestrial origins. You know, and there's different factions of Celestials. So which ones you meet, they all act differently. And that's what he means by that. So it's really quite an interesting concept. They don't have aliens per se. What they have is like the Silicates they're talking about here. They're not robots. They're I guess they're augmentations. It's hard to explain. It's when I hear them talk about Silicates in the book, I think of, if you ever played Dragon Age Origins, there was that rock creature. That's what goes through my mind, but that may not be correct. That's just what goes through my mind. But that's kind of how I view them. So yeah, it's everything's technology based or evolution based would be the best way to put it. So you're still dealing with humanity, but it may not be a humanity you recognize anymore.
Silicates are, they're really cool, and they're going to be one of those things that I think people will remember about the game. However, I can't really talk too much about them because I don't want to spoil anything, but I can say that the choices you make in the game will have a huge impact on how Silicates appear in the game. So you might be talking to your buddy who's also playing Exodus, and he'll describe your experience with Silicates, and he'll be like, "What? That's nothing like what's happening, you know, in his version of the game." It's actually pretty cool. There's one choice in particular that is just has massive consequences that span centuries.
So yeah, it's the evolution, you know, and he's saying that for the Silicates too. Your choice will determine how they evolve. I think that's cool. I really do.
Oh, definitely. The game supports many different play styles. Like, this is something that's really near and dear to us in terms of the minute-to-minute experience that we want to deliver to players. You're going to be able to build up your character that suits you and your play style and supports the choices you want to make as you play along in the journey that you go through on Exodus. So we've been fortunate to be able to have shared some pre-alpha gameplay back at our official announcement at the Game Awards last December. That's really the beginning for us. There's a bunch more gameplay we wish we could share. Today, I have to be very careful because my marketing director is staring at me with steely eyes from behind the camera that you all can't see. So I've got to be very careful with this answer. But all I can tell you is stay tuned because there's amazing stuff going on here at Archetype. The game's looking awesome and we're super excited to share with everybody. And I say super excited a lot. I'm sorry, but I am super excited. So yeah, the game looks awesome. We can't wait to share more.
And just so you know, Drew Karpyshyn actually has fun playing Exodus now, and he hates everything.
That's so true. We had a gameplay review the other week, and Drew actually said, "This game's actually fun." And we're looking at him like, "What? Is that an insult and a compliment from Drew simultaneously?" And it was, and it was beautiful.
Well, the game's ending is one of probably the defining features of Exodus in that, the choices you make are going to essentially have impacts from the beginning to the end of the game. And at the end of the game, you're going to do, well, I don't want to give away too much, but let's just say there's some time jumps where you get to really see the consequences of the choices you've made over the course of decades, centuries, that kind of thing. And when you talk to your friend who might have also finished the game, you're going to find that his or her experience at the end of the game was completely different. It's a very unique experience, and I can't wait to be able to tell you more.
And that's cool. Like, I didn't expect that. Like, I'm of the firm opinion that we're not there yet technology-wise. for computers or consoles, is like choices matter for companions, but they usually don't impact the whole story. It's like Starfield again. You can make choices, but they don't impact the story at all. You know, you got a list of 5 choices, and it doesn't matter what you pick. They all play out the same way. You know, and that's true for most games. Very few games, honestly, how your choices honestly don't impact the game all that much. They give you the illusion of choices matter, but they don't. Mass Effect 1 set it up that choices would matter, but then in Mass Effect 2, EA basically wrote off all the choices that you had made in Mass Effect 1, which really bummed me out. Like, I played Mass Effect 1 so many times, and I kept making these choices, and it's like, I can't wait to see how my choices mattered in Mass Effect 2. And then I got into Mass Effect 2, and they were all either eliminated or, you know, a couple words here and there and done. So I was really disappointed. So them saying that your choices will change how your game looks compared to your buddy's game, that's fantastic. And again, that's replayability, because the next time you play, you can make different choices and you'll have a different story or a different outcome or whatever. And like, that's how gaming should be to me, honestly. And to hear that they're doing that it just builds up the excitement for me. It really does. Yeah, again, Mass Effect 1 with Rex or with Ashley and Caden. You know, that's the game I go to on Choices Matter, because that's the game where you saw your choices matter the most. Jade Empire did it to a few years earlier to a lesser degree. But again, choices matter. So yeah, I'm thrilled for that. I can't say it any other way.
Hey, Exodus fans, we're so excited you've been following along with our journey. We just wanted to let you know from everyone at Archetype, it's your enthusiasm that's the fuel that helps us make this amazing game, and we're really looking forward to being able to share more with you over the coming months. Keep your eyes peeled. There's going to be some cool things coming out really soon. We have a lot we can share. Look forward to it. We're excited to talk to you more about what we're doing with this amazing game. Thanks very much.
So there you go. That was September of 2024 Founders Q&A. Give you a little bit more insight, but give you insight from the founders of the game and how excited they are for the game. As I said at the start, it's one thing for somebody to get up and talk. It's another thing for their excitement, their zeal to come across the screen to you. Because I firmly believe if they're excited to be making the game, then you're excited to be playing the game. Like, I go to Dragon Age Andromeda. Ugh. Okay, sorry. I had to vomit a bit there. I lost interest in that game before it released because of one person. I don't know his name. I don't want to know his name. But he came out and he said, Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 had horrible combat, and we had to change the combat to be more action-y. And I knew right there the game was doomed. Because the fans of Mass Effect expected something. This is what they were invested in. And then you had this idiot come out and saying, no, you guys are all wrong, and this is my vision. And he didn't sound excited about it. He sounded more excited about changing it than about what he was making. And because of that, I lost my excitement for the game. And I don't get that from them. I get from James and the other guy, I get the complete feeling they are excited about this game. They are excited about making it, and they're fans. And that's what I want my developers to be. You know, I always throw myself into the picture. It's, if I ever won, you know, the Lotto 649 here in Canada and got $80 million and opened up a gaming studio, I want to make games that I want to play. And I find a lot of game developers nowadays, they make games to preach at you or to just, they think are going to make them money. And those games usually fail because they're not passionate about their own game. They're doing it for the wrong reasons. These guys, I don't think, are doing it for the wrong reason. So that makes me excited for the game. I hope it makes you excited. So anyway, that was the September 2024 Founders Q&A. Nothing really much else to add. I am super excited for this game. You know, everything I hear about it, it's what I want from an RPG. So anyway, that's my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders. And I do appreciate people that do like, subscribe, and share. If you didn't like the video, leave a dislike. Always feel free to leave a comment. I encourage you to leave a comment. It's not just to open up dialogue, which, don't get me wrong, I would love to have a dialogue about the game. What makes you excited, what concerns you, what you're looking forward to, what you think. It just, you know, we can have a conversation on the YouTube channel. But beyond that, on a selfish front, if you leave a like, a subscribe, a share, or a comment, that tells the algorithm, the YouTube algorithm, that you are interested in this topic or this video. And that tells them to share the video, give it more exposure, which helps me directly. So yeah, I encourage everybody to leave a comment. I welcome it. I try to reply to every comment, good or bad. You know, I try to reply on topic. And yeah, so anyway, and as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Bye.